Hello and welcome to another Near Reading cast. As always, my name is Johno, and I'm joined once again by special guest co-commentator Chris Dyer. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Johno.
And we are in the third elimination round of the World Championships 2016, and we're here to watch Brit Alex White. That will be Vinegary Mink online, as well as something Xylophone, Zachary
Xylophone, yeah.
against Dien Tran, known as Dien online.
Or Dien Train.
The Dien Train.
All aboard the Dien Train.
Yes, so in this game we're going to see Dien's Valencia once again playing against CTM. This time it's Alex White CTM, which is slightly different, but this is also card for card the same list you took. You guys built both your decks identically, right?
Yes, we spread them out on a kitchen table the night before, and they turned out identical.
That is right, yeah. So you didn't have any disagreements then?
We had a long discussion about whether 2 pop-up and 1 pad or 1 pop-up and 2 pad was correct.
Wow, okay, that sounds like...
Alex briefly 10 minutes 4 worlds had 2 pop-up 2 pad, which made his deck legal, but then
well, let's not go crazy. All right.
Yeah, quite.
So we're going to see a turn 1, 2 ice and install. It turns out it was a pad from CTM. Didn't think about trashing it. He did drop a Temujin, hit Archives twice, and then run it.
So notably, Valencia is substantially worse against CTM's early game if they play a lot of assets than Wizard. So this is a very similar deck to a Wizard deck, but with tweaks for Valencia. If you're Wizard, that's a lot easier to trash that pad campaign there.
Yeah, okay. That's true. I mean, you don't really think about it. The one bad pub is obviously Wizard-ish, but only going spread out.
Much worse, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's better if you're trashing multiple things in a turn, if you're trashing 2 or 3 politicals, but it's much worse at getting rid of a pad, for example.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And it helps the trace as well.
Yeah, importantly, Alex has cut off the Temujin already, so Dien has only got 2 uses at that Temujin before Alex has managed to stop it.
That's true, so he can get through the resistor, but not for any reasonable profit. So he'll do it if he wants to force a Jackson, say, but he won't do it regularly for money.
Yeah, Alex had a nuts draw here, so he's already found all the ice. He's found 4 ice already. That pad campaign was ideal for turn 1 because it meant that Dien couldn't trash it, he wasted to click on it. And he's got a Jackson up for draw as well, so Alex is in a really strong position early.
Yeah, okay. As Dien then, who's going to drop a Liberated and use it at least once, just once, and drop a daily costs. How do you recover then? So he's setting up economically. Yeah,
so you are now starting to think about late game already. So a lot of CTM games end in medium digs, so it's not too early to start thinking about how am I going to transition this game into a medium dig late.
Yeah, okay.
But the other point is you have to stop Alex winning in the meantime.
So Alex installs a new remote and ices it, and also moves it to the inside.
Yeah, so this is terrifying. CTM. This is textbook CTM, where effectively you scare them with what could well be a breaking news behind a remote, and that breaking news can really, really wreck you. So Alex's list doesn't have All Seeing Eye, which would be the most worrying thing. So
yes,
obviously it's Valencia. So
he's fishing for blackmail, and he got it.
So that is what he's doing. Yeah. But that's why he makes him do it, because if that's breaking news, essentially, that is already very painful. So. Mm-hmm. The only downside from Alex's point of view, and that was great for drawing out a click and a blackmail. The downside is because it's Jackson, you can't keep installing over it. So ideally, it's something like a Sansan or a Mumbai Virtual Tour where you can now put something else on top of it and make them wander again.
Yeah, okay, that's true. So indeed, he does install. He does install in the remote, and as Dien, if you have a blackmail, do you go?
So it's a Sansan, probably. Worst case, it's a Sansan. Yeah. Alex's economy is very high already, so he can afford that Sansan.
So he's going to hit HQ. He is going to pay the trace to get in for an access.
Yeah, we saw Dien doing this. He values early accesses, so he's happy to pay credits for it. And that's not bad tactics against CTM, actually, because Dien's got a lot of credits, but they could disappear at any given time to a breaking news.
Yeah, that's fair. So convert them to access as well.
Convert them to accesses and board state is very solid.
You don't want a GFI, though.
No, you don't.
Okay, but he's going to take a GFI. He did install a Sucker as well, so he's getting slightly more value.
Yeah, and Sucker is good here because we know Dien has got Davis, but it means that all the punishing late game wise potentially is just a little bit less taxing.
Yeah,
and that's relevant because your credits often disappear.
He's got Mimic, Yogg, that kind of thing as well, so obviously it's key. Start striking clicks. He did draw and then run and then but declare its click 1. And a friendly local cameraman helped him out.
could have been anyone.
Stop these cheating foreigners, yeah. Yeah, okay. So, in fact, I don't think he used the click trackers again, though, so we'll just put that as a token. That's just the way they're right.
Yeah.
So he drew and then ran HQ. He got the access, he got the GFI. He's going to run again, tracing 3. It's costing 3 credits. It's 4 trace.
3 credits for a Sucker and access. It's not terrible. His credits are still pretty high, so Don't mind too much.
Astro. Okay, wow. So obviously the sucker tokens are pseudo credits. I mean,
yeah, and Dien has obviously read here that he read that Alex may have a few agendas in hand. Alex didn't really give it away because he didn't Jackson agendas away, so it didn't really shout that he was flooded. But Dien has read that there were agendas in there, which is a good read from a pretty difficult position. Yeah. There wasn't a lot to give that away.
Yeah, and it's worth checking. I mean, it's possible he's flooded, and Dien should just continue to go in.
Yeah, so it's going to start taxing the economy prohibitively at some point. So Dien's still on a lot of money, but you don't want to throw it all away without any benefit. So it's worth keeping Alex honest, but you've got to ask yourself, if you hit two agendas, one of them was the Astro, how many more are there likely to be in that hand anyway?
Yeah, okay.
So fair. Especially if you suspect that's a Sansan. So the guess is that Alex probably only just drew that. Well, there's two reads here. Either that isn't a Sansan, because Alex would almost certainly scored an Astro from it if it was.
Yeah.
The second possibility is that Alex only just drew that Astro and didn't have time to score it.
Yeah, okay. So if that is a Sansan, obviously he didn't get the Astro, he would have scored it, like you say. If he draws a bill, does he score it straight away? Obviously,
it depends on his hand. I don't think you do. I think you're more keen. It does set up a threat they have to answer, but it's not that hard for Dien to answer that at the moment. He's got enough credits.
Yeah. So
Dien pitched a turntable, interestingly.
Well, I mean, Alex has no agendas.
Yeah, but either means he's got a second one in hand, or he's confident he's not going to need it, or his hand is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he might decide, even at this seemingly early stage, to just go tag me and start hitting R&D with a medium and get as many accesses as possible, because you only need 3 more points, right?
So this is a good run from Dien. He's forced the use of a Jackson because Alex is throwing some cards in archives from overdrawing. He's also done it by making money off Temujin and getting a data sucker token. That's really efficient.
Yeah, so he's only netted 1 credit in the sucker, but he has also forced a Jackson use. So
it's just so... It wasn't immediately clear because there's an ice there, but that was much, much better than running Jackson itself.
Yeah, agree. Okay, so he's going to run HQ. So Alex did add more ice, but Turnpike is quite annoying. He did drop the
Turnpike's great here. So it's going to cost him. It's costing him 5 real credits just to see a single card here, and obviously a data sucker token. But that's pretty taxing.
Still breaking news. Okay, so if he has an EOI in hand, that would have been huge if he'd been able to score off the Sansan.
Yeah, so I think we can probably assume that might not be a Sansan.
So use Jackson.
So Alex's board position is still really good. He's got a ton of credits. He's got remotes that aren't being challenged, but he's got no points and Dien's 1 access away from winning. So Dien's board state isn't very good, but he's got 5 points.
Yeah, that's right. And so Alex has created another remote. Dien's going to run it normally and hit Enigma. Okay, lose a click. So
Dien's thinking there is that can't be an agenda because Alex wouldn't have. He must think it's almost a bait.
Yeah. So he's going to drop a Yogg and run again.
Yeah.
Sansan. Okay. Do you trash it? It is CTM, so maybe not.
He will go poor at that point and he'll be tagged, which isn't ideal. He's already in hard-hitting news range now. It's interesting that Alex chose to set that up on a new remote rather than putting it on the same remote as the Jackson. So I'm still wavering backwards and forward. How many Sansans does he have?
Yeah, he might have 2. He's going to use this one because it's the one that Dien's seen.
Yeah, so he has scored the bill here, and the reason he scored the bill is he knows that Dien is more than happy to pay to access HQ, so he can't risk it being in hand. And because Dien has now dipped low enough in credits that Sansan is a big threat. So trashing that Sansan is not trivial for Dien.
Yeah, and he has the ability to do that with a bill, but not GFI. So if he draws a GFI, that's just going to stay in hand. He can wash it away with Jackson. But
yeah, so if he draws a GFI, it's going to get Jackson away. If he draws anything else, he's going to score it now, I think.
And if he's got an EOI, of course, and draws a breaking news,
that's right. And he's just going to challenge Dien to deal with this Sansan. Now, Dien probably has to, but he's going to go poor doing so.
Yes, he's going to money up a little bit. He's going to hit R&D instead.
So Alex's money, which was high, is obviously gone down because he scored off a Sansan.
So he's going to hit Turnpike with Mimic, of course, that's fine.
Yep.
Tobuth, okay.
So Alex obviously worried that Dien is just going to win.
Well, that's it. This access could win the game, right? I mean,
it could do. It's a single access, but it could win the game.
Which he does not have to trash because it's not installed.
But it's obviously tanked Alex's economy. So if Alex draws an Engender now, he can't score it. If he's got Engender in hand, he can't score it. Now he can credit, install, store breaking news, but that's no good.
Although Dien knows that he's going to draw.
Actually, that pad campaign means he can score breaking news, importantly, and still fire a punishment off it.
That's true.
Dien left the MVT, so he knows he's going to draw MVT.
So he dropped it, presumably the MVT on the Sansan?
Must be, yeah.
Take two. I mean, it could be a breaking news.
Now, chances are that'd
be quite bold.
It would be bold, but Dien, that MVT is never going to trigger because if Dien runs in, he's going to trash the Sansan. It's only going to become relevant if Dien gets a ton of credits.
Yes, that's true. That's true. He doesn't need the credits to break the Enigma.
No, and he knows where the Sansan is, so he can trash the Sansan first. He doesn't risk, and he can go to below 5 credits when he hits the MVT.
Okay, so right. Let me ask you that classic question: who's got the upper hand
Dien.
right now? It's Dien,
yeah,
because he needs one access away.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's got two loads of suckers for
he's got
booth,
suckers for toll booth,
so he can just run in like twice.
He's still got money, which means he can make.
If you had
that's impressive. He can make a credit off. He can potentially make money off archives runs if he can find a paperclip.
If you had a medium, would you consider dropping it and running R&D?
Yes.
Okay.
Possibly twice. I wouldn't even think about it.
If this outside ice
I potentially would take a bit of money first, but
sure.
Yeah, I definitely would. I think you can include the fact that Dien hasn't drawn a huge amount because he's been taking his accesses and second his board, but I think you can conclude he doesn't have a Mimic in hand because if he did, he would have played it.
Medium. It looks like he has a
medium in hand. Sorry, he'd have played it before.
Like a turntable. He's got another Temujin as well. Ice cover. I didn't see that card yet.
Yeah, so that Temujin effectively, because there's an unguarded pad campaign, gives him the chance to burst an economy very quickly. Now he's going to take his turn to do so, but it means he can make 8 credits in a turn.
Do you install the Temujin trashing the old one? Or do you take the money off
if
first?
You need to? No, it depends what Dien's hand is. So if you're building up to a medium run, then yes, you do.
Okay. So he's going to run archives.
Yeah, it says more face down cards, so he's trying to prompt the use of this Jackson.
But he didn't, it's just bankers.
Yeah. It's not bad because it's like clicking for a credit and a sucker token anyway, so it's a fine use of it.
Especially if you are going to install another Temujin very shortly.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Still the mystery of what this upgrade behind Jackson is.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could believe it's another Sansan, and he just didn't use it because the other one had been seen.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
The credits mean that the second Sansan isn't particularly threatening at this point, but if it is a second Sansan, that could come into play later. Alex really needs to land a EOI here to keep the game live for a bit longer. So breaking news EOI puts Dien off game point.
Dien's having a good think here. So he's got 1 click left on his turn. No, I'm sorry, he has 2 clicks left on his
turn. So he's probably thinking about whether he wants to pay for an access.
So he's going to run archives again to clear the Temujin, I assume.
So clear the Temujin and for the sucker tokens. He knows potentially if he can get rich enough, he's going to need those sucker tokens to keep pushing R&D.
He's going to run R&D, okay. So no res, so he's going to use Mimic on Turnpike, Yorkshire from Tolu, so he's going to get an access. Psychographics, does that change anything? No, not really.
No, not unless Alex has a hard hitting use, but if he does, potentially, it can turn on a bigger Psycho Beal.
It's true, he scored GFI for Sansan.
Right, so that purge is interesting.
Because the Temujin's gone, there's no money from archives now.
That's right, because Dien took that last click to run archives, he's now not incentivised to run it again. We know he's got a second one in hand, but Alex doesn't obviously know that at this point. That injector's drawn a ton of cards that Dien can't use. Yeah, so if he still had the Temujin in play, he'd have been happy to build up the sucker tokens again, but as it is, he can't get a cheap sucker token anywhere.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. That inject wasn't great. So he drew an injected. I
think he drew 2 injects.
An NRE, 2 injects and a gamble.
Yeah, that's right.
So he finished turn taking 2 credits.
Yeah, so he's going to build up to the gamble. I suspect he's going to inject again. If he can find a paperclip, so paperclip into Temujin on archives, get some credits and sucker tokens back.
So he bins a net ready and a deja vu. Is that dangerous? Is there a Lotus field on this list?
No.
I know you guys are both on Flower Power.
No, our assumption was that there were going to be too many people playing Faust.
Okay, all right.
To make Lotus field worth it,
yeah,
which turned out correct. So Alex reinforcing R&D. So he's drawn some economy now, which means that he's kind of burst back from that Sansan score.
So he knows that he's going to lose on R&D, right? because he can get rid of a GFI.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So he's trying to prevent those single accesses that we saw Dien pull off in the previous game.
Yeah, we know Dien's have to pay for, so he's trying to stop that. Interestingly, the difference between this game and Dave's game is that Alex has a board, so he's got a pad campaign ticking over. He's got a Sansan behind ice, which means that the game just isn't in R&D in hand. It means that if Alex does draw something, he can do something with it.
Okay, so a bit of a misplay here because Dien installed, with 2 clicks remaining, he installed the Temujin on HQ and then declared a run on HQ, but he's run that back, but he's going to commit to the Temujin.
Yeah, it's because he can't afford to go to HQ. Yeah.
So that is a misplay because it now means there's a full Temujin on the board, which can...
Yeah, he's not tagged, but it means that Alex has seen...
But he's not getting any money out of it.
He's seen 8 of his ice at least already, so... But it means if he's got another ice, it can potentially go on HQ just to cut off any profit from Temujin. As it is, Dien's accesses on HQ are profit neutral.
That's true. So in fact, he does do exactly that. It spends his turn still being on HQ, which makes this Temujin now much less tempting.
It was already fringe because it just what it meant before is you were seeing HQ for free and getting a sucker token, which is fine but not great. Now it means you're probably seeing HQ for a diminished cost, which is much, much worse.
He's going to gamble and run. He's going to hit Archangel. That's painful with no suckers. So he's going to have to trace it. He could lose his Temujin. He has to pay, right?
So he
does pay. It's only 5 because of the bad pub, but he's going to pay to avoid the Temujin bouncing.
And now he can't afford to get in.
And now he jacks out.
Yeah, so so playing Temujin with that click free has really, really punished him here.
And it's one of those things where it's a mistake, which is a shame, but it's the end of a second long day. So you can't.
It's hard to kind of overstate how difficult these games become when you've been playing Netrunner for 3 solid days because you played the Icebreaker the day before.
Yeah.
It's so easy to make mistakes. I can't imagine that everybody in the tournament didn't make several mistakes at this point.
Okay, so Beal gets scored off the Sansan, and that puts Alex into a very strong position.
Yeah,
4 points.
He would kill for it to be anything other than a Beal. So Astro or the Astro's gone obviously, but Astro Breaking News would have been way stronger there.
Yeah, that's right. If he's got an EOI, even more so.
Yeah.
Although even scored the Breaking News and then trashed Temujin or something would have been big.
Yeah, Temujin actually, I think Alex is almost happy to leave it there now because there's no way into HQ without a ton of sucker tokens. And what Alex is doing now is making sure Dien can't get sucker tokens.
So a turn of drawing from Alex, then he's going to use the Jackson. So
that's
GFI,
preemptive in case of Rumour Mill.
Yeah, of course. And coincidentally enough, Dien has Rumour Mill in hand, so that was very well read. I've got very paranoid about popping Jackson. So.
Yeah, disappointingly, you almost have to unless you're feeling particularly risky or trying to bait someone. So, KT is Dien's long-term economy here, and he might... I was going to say he might be able to sit back. He can't because Breaking News EOI ends the game again.
There's not much long-term left.
No, there's not. KT
is not ideal.
No, he probably doesn't have enough turns to make any profit off it. So... but it's very hard. I don't see how Dien's going to get any accesses here. I don't see where he's going to get any pressure. I think Alex has got to be looking at this board and think, although he was 5-0 down a while ago, I think right now he's got to be 95% certain to win.
Yeah, that's right. So if he has an EOI in hand, which I think he does, then you can if he top decks Breaking News, then that's game, right? And that's it. So that's his out now.
And there's no way into R&D for several turns.
Yeah, he's not in a position to score. Okay, so Alex is not in a position to score GFI. So what's your hope here? Can you, even with the pad though, even if he's on 0 credits, he can still do that. So you can't even...
All Dien can do, I think this turn he had to build up money, and then he's just going to have a look for accesses. But
he's got the Breaking News on the Sansan. He's got a click left to exchange for the GFI, which takes him on to 7.
Classic CTM.
That was classic CTM. So now Dien had a very fast start. Which is to say he maybe a lucky start. He got a lot of points early. He got a lot of single accesses that turned into agendas. He hit 2 in HQ in particular.
So Dien, and this plays into how Dien's tactics went. He was happy to pay for those single accesses early, so he had a lot of credits. He paid for single accesses, which is why he got points, because you don't get those points unless you pay for them. But the flip side was the time and money he spent on those accesses meant he didn't have any board or long-term economy. And when Alex could shut off data sucker tokens, Alex had drawn a good enough start and got enough stuff on the table that he could lock down his centrals entirely, which meant that all of a sudden, Dien was left with no money, no accesses. So
yeah,
although Dien did have a fast start, he kind of ran out of steam because he invested that into early accesses rather than building a long-term board state. Now, neither of those is wrong. We saw in Dien's first game that he won from those tactics. It's just that's the downside of that approach.
Yeah, it seems like at some point in any list, you're just going to go tag me, which means you can start to ignore a lot of the ice. But ideally, he would have dropped medium and just hit R&D a lot. But the toll booth made that infeasible, right?
Yeah.
That's expensive to get through, whether you're tagged or not. And there's an Arcane on HQ, so that's not ideal either if you're going to start just ignoring ice.
Yeah, if Dien had one more turn, he could have started to get a couple of accesses, but didn't get that time. But even then, he's only looking at single accesses again. That pad campaign that rolled all game gave Alex a ton of money, is worth pointing out. That's why pad campaign is so good, because it's hard to trash if you're not Wizard. And the other point to mention is that Alex had a lot of economy early, and that Sansan that we saw on the table, Dien was never able to respond to it, and that's literally what won the game.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that was the losers bracket. So sadly, Dien goes home, but back to Toronto, I want to say. But Alex will continue, and in fact, we will see Alex again. That's exciting.
Cliffhanger.
I know, right? For now, we're actually going to leave the losers bracket. And we're going to return to the winners bracket, where we're going to see Western Odin playing against Chris Dyer in the winners bracket final. So, without giving away any spoilers for how the game actually went, did you know before this game what Western was on?
Yes, because I knew that they were on very similar lists that all the West Coast runners had tested in advance and come up with a deck list. I'd played Brian Cronin, who was another one of them in round 3.
Sure.
And I'd run against his corp, and
right.
I was assuming his corp was at least 47 out of 49 cards identical to Wes's.
That was round 3 of the Swiss, right? I think that was on camera.
I played round 6 of Swiss, round 7 of Swiss, but I also played in round 3 of the Cup. So
round 3 of the Cup, okay.
Again.
So, apologise.
So
I know I had both you and him on camera at some point.
Yeah, I had just played him, so I'd literally just come off a game against his deck.
Okay, all right.
Importantly, I got to run again, which was a blessing, because that matchup is way better for me than their runner deck. It's my corp deck.
Yeah, okay, all right. So you knew, you kind of knew what you were facing, and I guess you knew you would be Wizard. You were told you'd be Wizard against CTM.
Yes.
So, what were your thoughts going into that game about how you wanted to set up?
So we've played regular Wizard against CTM a ton. We've tested a lot. It's been every UK tournament has been that recently as well. My line against that deck is always to set up as much as possible, get money down, try and control their board state, but it's not always possible. But at least make sure that when it comes to the pinch, you can get a lot of accesses, and that usually means setting up medium for a game-winning medium dig. So what I wanted to do going into the game was try and keep him honest early, get rid of high-value assets if I can. I knew their list didn't have bankers in, actually, so that takes a bit of pressure off. You just can't let a Sensi tick over.
So I guess that means that you know there's Bartek
I know there's a Bartek instead, that's right,
okay.
yeah. And just make sure that my board state builds up quicker than theirs if I can, and then at some point, and when you have to go, it depends on how the game is going, turn that board state into medium accesses.
Okay, interesting. All right, yeah, I'm looking forward to that one, okay. So I'd like to remind all of our viewers they can find all the videos on the website, neoreadinggrid.co.uk, and they can find us on Twitter and on Facebook and on Patreon if they'd like to support the channel. And they can find us on the Dead Channel podcast. Thank you, Chris, for helping me commentate.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.